Welcome to another edition of Resilientlpodcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. Today is episode 10, and it's stationary RV living full-time. The background noise, please excuse, that's my mobile studio, my F-350 pickup truck. That's what we do our shows on our weekly commute. So today I want to talk about why we would want to live, more how to live in an RV full-time too. Now, I'm not talking about rubber tramping where people are traveling around and everything like that. I just found this to be one of the most cheapest ways for people to live, to get their overhead down. To basis where I'm starting from is California, and it's very expensive here. And I think with these troubling hard times, we're going to have a lot of people needing to downsize and start from scratch possibly. And what better way to get it down? Put it why you guys would be interested in this. I pay a third to a fourth of what people are paying here. I live in San Diego, California at present time, 2021. So you might want to consider this, and if you are, there's a couple of pointers that I want to give out to you, and stating the fact that I've lived in my RV for probably a good, I'd say 8 years now, full time, so I have a lot of good stuff to share. This might end up being a few episodes. We're going to see if we can get through them, but I want to help you guys as clearly as possible. So let's start off first with, should you buy a new one? There may be some stuff with like tiny houses that you may be interested in, but the reason why you're going to want to get an RV or a travel trailer is that it's like a fraction of the price as a tiny house, and it's already got everything in it. But you can get that even cheaper than from buying new. I think that you should buy old. You should probably check out, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about in RV parks. Now, you have to find an RV park you're able to live in full-time like I do. Now, here's a little secret, is that some of the RV parks want to keep a higher status, right? So they want something that's newer. Now, you can live in an older one. You have to ask the right questions, and a lot of these people don't know to ask the right questions. Yes, my trailer, it has to be 10 years, no more than 10 years old. So if you have an older trailer though, and you're able to paint it and make it look nice and it looks presentable, that's when they'll actually work with you. They may say, no, you can't live in it because you have a 1985. Let's just make up a number. But if you say, yeah, it's been fully reconditioned, fully rebuilt and painted, would you like to see some pictures of it? And if it's got nice paint on the side and everything, and for you to do it yourself for people, this is something totally simple to do. It's not really that hard. You may have to pressure wash and scrub the surface, especially if the paint is oxidized, meaning if you rub your finger across it, it turns to powder. Even some of the RVs that are like 5 years old do this kind of thing. It's not the best quality of paint. But you can go and paint these things really nice, like the vintage ones you guys probably seen on YouTube. Show them a picture of the exterior, that it's all nice and neat, and no rust and broken parts like that, and you'll be able to get in. Now, you can save a lot of money doing it yourself. If you're not a DIY type of person, you might as well just buy something that's newer, that's about 10 years old. I would like to tell you guys too that you're grandfathered in. Once you get a trailer, they really won't kick you out after, if say you're living there for 5 years and you've got 2021, and let's just say you got yourself like a 2014 or something, 15, and you end up living there for 5 years and it's past this 10 years mark. They're going to leave you in there, so don't really worry about that. So yeah, the reason why I'd say I like to buy old if you're a DIY and you know how to fix things is that you're going to get one at a way better rate. And here's the deal. Let's look at, before we get any further, how are RVs built? And I'll do a word on tiny house too, not a lot, because I want to keep this on focus of the RVs. Travel trailers and RVs are built with very 2x3 wood, 2x2, usually fastened together with staples and things like that. So they're not really meant to live in. So that's why these things will fall apart. They're not necessarily just going to fall apart, but the insides are made out of very fine, thin, like 1/4 inch plywood and things like that, maybe even fiberboard. So, and they're also made for the weekend warriors. So, you wouldn't be taking everything you're going to live in when you go camping for a weekend, or a week or 2 weeks, So these things are really designed, the interiors very well as far as like storage and stuff like that. If you open up the cabinets underneath the sink, you're going to notice that there's a lot of unused space. They got the plumbing in there. There's no shelves. Like you can just stuff stuff like in a pile in there, and it's very inconvenient. Now, you can go full blown and rip the whole entire countertop off and just rebuild your sinks if you want, things like that. You can get repurposed free materials, salvage old trailers. You know, they've got different parts and stuff like that you can get for pennies on the dollar, you know, junkers. But so you can design it really the way you want the interior, the dining tables and stuff like that. I mean, if it's parked and it's going to stay there, you really want to make it more comfortable for yourself. And you'll notice, before you purchase one, go sit inside of it, open up the cabinetries and the drawers and everything, kind of look. The pantry, like my pantry is probably about 2.5 feet deep, so when you're stuffing all your cans and stuff in there, it's really difficult. Tip I'll give you guys here is get yourself some milk crates. They have different sizes, or build your own plywood custom boxes, as I did, so they fit exactly the width of your cabinetry, so you can actually pull them in and out. So yeah. Now the refrigerator and things like that, these are made for weekend warriors. They're not really made to live in. So now that we know how these things are built, even the appliances and things like that, now in contrast to tiny homes, they're built very well. The problem with tiny homes is not built to be moved around in different places. So the more moving you do, the more the drywall is going to crack. They do have better appliances, but you're going to pay through the yin-yang for one of these things. You know, probably at present time with the inflation, probably like over $100,000 for one of the most simplest ones, where you can pick one up for like $8,000, you know, an RV that's already built, a travel trailer. So now that we know how these things are built, and they're not built that well, we want to take some precautions here. So your refrigerator and your freezer, that comes with it. It works off, there's a 3-way, which is really nice. I would recommend, if you don't have the money, just use it until it dies. I've used mine. We're going on about 3 years now, and it hasn't died. I've upscaled to a newer one a couple years ago. I think it was in 2012, so it's not new, but it's, you know, relatively. So I've been using that fridge, and I believe that's the same fridge, and it's 2021. It still hasn't broken down. One of the things I like is if there's ever a power outage, that you can put it on automatic. It'll go from electric to gas, to LP gas. So that's really nice, so that your food doesn't get all messed up and things like that. But the freezer tends to freeze over, it gets chunked full of ice. I'll give you guys another tip I don't have in my notes here, is get yourself some plastic cutting boards, or you can go to like any hardware store and get big plastic sheets that have a 4x8 foot. Cut and line the whole inside of that freezer. And what will happen is that the ice will stick to the cutting boards and stuff like that. So you can pull all your food out, pull the cutting boards out. It'll basically bust up all the ice. You just clean up the ice, wipe it all down, put the cutting boards or the plastic sheeting back, and then your food right back in the freezer. Before I forget, when we go further, we're going to talk about chest freezers for outdoor use. Do the same with these as well. It's really recommended that you defrost them every 6 months. That means whatever you had in there, you got to take it out, leave it for a day so everything defrosts the ice, and then put all your food back in. That doesn't really work. So for me, I want to be able to just pull everything out and put my stuff back in. So yeah, if you buy one and it's got a broken fridge, you're going to get a really good deal off of it. Make sure you bargain for it. But you can get yourself one of those apartment style fridges and just find one with the exact measurements, pull the old one out, or have it pulled out for you. It's very simple, really. It's not that complicated. And stick one of those electric ones back in there and you're done. One last word on the refrigerators, the 3-ways, is I like that some are DC, so you can actually run off a solar panel. And God, there's so much stuff to share with you guys, that your batteries, your entire trailer is already equipped to run off batteries. So really simplified. All you have to do is put a bunch of solar panels up, run yourself a charge controller to your battery bank, and that's pretty much it. So, and you can run off DC power. Let's move forward from refrigerators to air conditioning. So air conditioning can cost a lot of money. And the insulation, again, we're going to go back how these things are built, very poor. They don't have much R value, meaning they don't hold out a lot of the heat. They have very thin walls. So if you live in a hot country you're going to definitely want an air conditioner because it gets hot. I basically open mine up. We live minimalistic in my realm, in my world, and we try to live with just exactly what is needed, what's essential. Leave the windows open and things, but there's days in those summer days where it's so hot, you're just sweating all over yourself. You'll need an air conditioner. Go get yourself one of those little rolling kind that you can open up a window and you can actually duct tape or scotch tape a plate for the exhaust to go out. For those of you who've never used one, it's going to shoot off bad gases on you. You don't want to have that inside, especially a small living space. You want those exhausts to go out. So get yourself one of those rolling kind. They're about $200-300 for a really good one. And in that range too, you could also get one which is a dehumidifier. It serves its stacking functions, doing two different things. Now they're fairly quite large. I chose to buy one with a dehumidifier, but I also own a dehumidifier that's about half the size because living in these small spaces, a lot of space gets taken up. So I like my little one. It's a lot less heavier. I use that all during the winter. We'll talk about that next. But yeah, another method that you guys can do is you can actually remove a window. And basically what you have is a plate that goes around the glass, and there's screws. It's very simple. The screws is what holds the glass together. There's just an exterior plate and an interior plate. When you undo those screws, you can literally pop the window out. You can trace a piece of plywood to go over into that window to fit in between those plates. Fasten those plates back together. But before you do that, measure yourself out a square for a window mounted like swamp cooler. Those are actually the most ideal and the most space saving, especially if you're stationary. But if you ever had to move, you'd have to disassemble the whole entire thing. So I wanted to give you guys some different options on that. Let's move forward on from air conditioning to heating. Heating's the same thing. The one thing I don't like is that you got to spend a really good amount of money on electric heater that has a thermostat. Otherwise, it's just going to keep heating all night. Really, I don't see it as economical. And excuse me, gas, like something that runs off propane is actually a lot cheaper depending on what type of heater you use. Now, the heating system and all that, if it wears out, these things cost a lot of money. Unless you're a do-it-yourselfer, I think you'll be okay. But the investment, look at your model. Here's a tip too, before we move forward on this. Get the model number of your travel trailer or your RV and go find all of the things that I'm talking about today. The refrigerator, the water heater, which we're going to talk about, the heating, the central air and heating. Find out how much it costs to replace the air conditioner and the thermostat and all your heating components. All of these things, put those together and then kind of evaluate, should I use my existing stuff that came in my trailer or should I go buy extra stuff? So basically what I'm saying here too, guys, is that try not to use as much stuff as possible. Try not to use what's already installed in there. This is going to hold up for your resale value, and if you're going to live for many, many years, it's going to make things a lot cheaper for you. In case maybe one of the electric appliance breaks, you can just flip on as emergency, your LP heating system or your cooling system and things like that. So yeah, getting on the heating, I would advise that you guys probably try to get something that's propane. Now they do have these wave ones. They are catalytic. What are they called? Catalytic. I didn't have it here on my notes. It's a catalytic safety heater. There it is. And basically, it doesn't emit carbon monoxide in the air to kill you. But one thing it does emit, and so does your pre-installed propane heater. Whenever you're heating with propane, for some reason I forget why, it emits a lot of moisture. So while you're heating your trailer and you're sleeping at night and you're breathing and things like that, it's actually going to create a lot of moisture in there. You'll notice your walls, especially your windows, are going to start sweating. Get the dehumidifier, and that's what's going to keep that stuff from happening. So yeah, try to get yourself maybe one of those cool little fireplace-looking ones. It has a fake fire, but something that's controlled. Oh my goodness, we've been trying to keep these down to just to 15 minutes, and we're already at 15 minutes, and I'm like a quarter down my list, guys. There's no way I'm going to be able to make this. So I got a heck of a lot for you. We're going to have to split this up in probably like part 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to stop it right there. You guys, if I gave you guys any value, please subscribe. Please give me a review to help get this channel up off the ground. We're fresh and new here. You guys can want to comment if there's something I left out or something that you're really interested in or something you want to hear about. Go at it. Everything's in the description below. It's Resilientlpodcast at gmail.com, and we're going to be getting a website soon. There's a YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. Any links, check it out in the description. And I hope you guys enjoy this. And as I always say, guys, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire and human up, my friends.